How do you guys feel about my new glasses? Do you like them? Should I wear them more often? I'm not really sure. Hello, little gremlins. So it's roughly 1:45 in the morning here, the day after America's big day. I'm still decked out. I haven't put on my pajamas yet because I'm really stressed out about this whole thing. I know I won't be able to sleep for a while. But I decided that if I was going to stay awake, then I should at least do something productive, something or another. So I'm making this video, and it was a video that I had been planning on making for a while. I just never really got around to it because I had been busy with other things, and I had other video plans that just came first, but I'm filming it now. Today, I'm going to be answering a question that I, as a trans person, have been asked a few times here and there, which is, how did I choose my name? And the answer is honestly relatively simple, but I still wanted to sit down and explain it in front of a camera and go in depth. So that's what I'm doing today. I had been experimenting with other names for a while, but they just never really stuck. They never really suited me. So I just obviously did not continue going by them. The name Callum was in the back of my mind for a bit, but I wasn't sure that I actually wanted to decide on it. But eventually, I asked my mother what she would have named me if I were born male, and that honestly wasn't really very helpful. She apparently always knew that I was not going to be born male. So, anyway, I ended up asking a Discord server, a Discord chat, what they thought suited me. And I kept getting names of dudes that I knew, and I didn't want to be accused of stealing their names or end up going by their name and then having that awkward interaction of,
oh, actually we share the same name now.
that I wasn't going to do that. So I wanted to pick a relatively uncommon name. That much I knew. And then I also sat down and thought about it, and I looked at the naming scheme that my parents had when choosing names for my siblings and me. And they gave us each 6-letter first names. And either our first or middle name was biblical, as a reference to how they believe that God has big plans for all three of us. And so I was like, okay, I'll pick that same scheme that they had when choosing my birth given name, which was a 6-letter first name and a biblical middle name. So yeah, that was the first step in actually sitting down and choosing a name. And with the name Callum in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, well, that meets the 6-letter requirement. That's going to be my first name. And then I sat down and thought about my middle name. I kind of wanted something that started with a J, and obviously it had to be biblical. I thought about James, but as a full name, with my first name and my last name, I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about it. It just didn't really have that nice of a ring to it. So then I thought about the name Josiah, which apparently was a name that my mother had considered for another one of my siblings, but for the same reason that she and my dad decided against choosing it, was that it's a bit of a mouthful with our surname. So I was like, well, I don't want to do that. It would have been a bit of a mouthful. So then I thought about Joseph, and I was like, well, again, that's a name of a bunch of dudes I know. First or middle name, I know somebody with that name. And I was like, well, I don't want to be accused of stealing their name, so I'm not doing that. And then I thought about Jonah, and I also thought about the story of Jonah, how, he was really at a rough point in his life that most people would argue he brought on himself because he disobeyed God and he ended up in the stomach of a giant water creature. And then I also thought about this one time at youth group where we were discussing how people in the scriptures had also shown signs of mental illness, and one of the people that I mentioned was Jonah. And everybody was like, wow, that is a good point. We looked at the prayers that he said while he was in the stomach of that giant creature, and just how much of a low point in his life he was at. But he still survived it. For that reason, I really like the name Jonah. I did know somebody with that name, but he wasn't living in my area for quite some time by now. So I was like, yeah, I want that as my middle name. It starts with a J, it's biblical, it has some meaning to me personally, and, you know, CJ makes for a pretty badass nickname, right? So that was it, Callum Jonah. I felt like it suited me really, really well. So I told the I told the Discord chat, and they said that they saw it, that they could see how it suited me. And that made me feel all the more confident in my name choice. And I was like, okay, this is the name I'm gonna stick with. And I like my name. I'm proud of my name. And now, with the whole situation in this country, I fear for the potential fact that I would not be able to change it legally because I could end up being accused of fraud. That's how rough things are for trans people right now. I'm really worried about that. But regardless of how everything goes, I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was a bit of a mess. Like and subscribe if you did. And if you're trans, I'm very interested in knowing the story of how you chose your name. So feel free to say it in the comments. And I hope you all are doing okay. I hope you all stay safe regardless of who ends up in office on my birthday, January 20th. I'll be turning 21. And I will see you in my next video.